What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Real quick before questions, we have to send a shout out to John Leeton, who joined our Patreon at the Jedi Council level this past week. That's 2 weeks in a row, and I just have to say thank you so much, John. You have no idea how helpful that is right now.
Our first question this week comes from Lachlan Morris, who asks, what's going on with the Pykes in the Clone Wars? Didn't they quit the Shadow Collective?
So, yeah, in Season 5, we're gonna take a little walk here. Season 5, Darth Maul puts together the Shadow Collective, and the Pykes are a part of that. And then in the Son of Dathomir comic, which takes place in between Seasons 5 and 7, the Pykes quit the Shadow Collective because they're just taking too many losses. And then in the most recent episode of the Clone Wars, or, well, as we're recording this, it was the most recent one, they mention that the Shadow Collective is turning on each other and that Crimson Dawn might attack them as if they are still a part of it. So did they leave or not? I mean, I can see a few options here where, like, Darth Maul could have just forced them back into servitude. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the one that jumps out at me first.
Was this always the plan for this arc?
Well, that's kind of another thing, is that when they did the Darth Maul Son of Dathomir comic, they didn't know they were going to do this season. And they didn't know that the Pykes were going to be in Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a bit of an adaptation there. We already know that they're going to make some changes to the Ahsoka book, because when they wrote that book, they didn't know she was going to have blue lightsabers. So, again, we don't know why that is, but there's a little bit of give and take here, flexibility. And I think that they are prioritizing what happens in the Clone Wars. They want that series to wrap up the way they want it to. And they're going to prioritize that over books and comics.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's safe to assume maybe they got dragged back in. There's a bunch of different reasons why.
Yeah. And in Solo, a Star Wars story, it's mentioned that Crimson Dawn has an alliance with the Pykes. They're not, like, part of the same team, but I think it's probably the beginnings of that even if the Pykes aren't officially part of the Shadow Collective anymore, they might just be surprised that, like, wait, Darth Maul's he's like threatening us and we helped him.
Maybe it's like Hotel California.
Yeah.
You can check out, but you can never leave.
You can join the Shadow Collective, but it's hard to get out of it. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like a throwaway line that I think I've seen a lot of people focusing on that. And it's like, it doesn't have to be as important as you're making it. I think there are plenty of ways to reconcile why they would say that and reference the Shadow Collective without necessarily having to be part of it. Or they were just forced back into it because Maul is powerful.
Ari Pavier wants to know if we watched the Skywalker Legacy documentary for The Rise of Skywalker and if it made us appreciate the film more.
It made me appreciate the filmmaking more. Like, there are still story decisions in there that I'm just like, not for me. And that's fine. But there was a lot in the documentary that made me smile. I mean, one of the things that stands out is the John Williams cameo scene. Like, it's a 1-second shot, and they put so much thought and detail into it, and it's just nice to see.
Yeah. We watched it, and it was a really cool... I love documentaries anyway, so... But I don't think anything can make us appreciate the movie more.
It's like... I mean, I haven't been mad about it.
No, but, like, nothing's gonna really alter our thoughts on it at this point.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna like it for the things that I like about it, and there are always gonna be just like, wish Palpatine hadn't come back. But I guess you see people online just being angry and being like, well, J.J. Abrams, J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio don't get Star Wars, and they did this, and it's like, Lucasfilm is trying to let all these different filmmakers tell stories that are important to them. And yes, what is important to JJ and Terrio isn't necessarily what's important to me. But you watch that documentary and you have to be like, well, they love Star Wars.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just in a different way.
I don't know what internet you're using, but Everyone on my internet gets along.
Can I log into that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, just give me the password. Are we not on the same Wi-Fi? I assume.
Nick Canavan asks if Snoke knew Palpatine created him, or did he have memories planted in his mind?
I assume he didn't know that he was a literal puppet clone creation grown in a pickle jar.
A pickle jar? Yeah, he seemed way too, for lack of a better word, cocky to have the realization that he was created by someone more powerful than him solely for the purpose of getting control of Kylo Ren.
Yes, which is so convoluted. But hey, that's Palpatine in the prequels too, so
yes.
what can you say? But yeah, there are lines that I think suggest, especially like in the Force Awakens novelization, he talks about how he saw the Empire rise and fall, and he's been around for a long time. And I think it's probably that he was grown sometime in between Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens, and Palpatine just shoved a bunch of memories in his head, and it's like, yeah, you're this like super powerful dark side user, and you've been around for forever, and here's the history of the Galactic Empire because I was there. And
he implanted his own fan fiction of history in his mind.
Honestly, probably, yeah.
Mr. J.D. Rice wants to know if the Jedi would have kicked Anakin out of the Order if they found out about his marriage to Padme.
I don't think so.
I think there's too much stuff going on, and they needed him more than not, so I don't think they would have kicked him out for that. They would have been like, really?
Yeah, yes, I think that's exactly how they would have reacted. Just like a flabbergasted, like, ugh, on top of all this.
Well, like half of them would be like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, no duh. That I want to see the breakdown of the Jedi Council of the people who are like, yeah, obviously, and the people who are just oblivious.
What? You're married to Padme?
Oh my gosh, what a shock. Like, that's what I think is part of the tragedy, is that Anakin was afraid. He let fear control him. He didn't want to tell Obi-Wan. He didn't want to tell Yoda. He had plenty of chances. Like, I understand not wanting to tell Mace Windu or Ki-Adi-Mundi, but I think ultimately it would have been fine, but he was so afraid of losing Padme or losing his seat of power in the Jedi Order that he did nothing, and it ruined the galaxy for a little while.
I mean, if they had tried to like discipline him somehow for marrying Padme, I feel like Vader would have come out a lot faster.
Except like all they do, like Time Out for Jedi is being sent to the archives. Like, they've done that, I think, in 3 separate stories. That's just standard, like, all right, well, you just go work in the library for a while. But that Anakin just falling to the dark side because he's, like, restocking books. He's like, oh my gosh, my talents are wasted. Yeah,
there's no way that they could contain him.
But I do think that is kind of part of the tragedy, is that it all would have been fine. The Jedi were already bending the rules quite a bit during the Clone Wars. I don't think he would have suffered any punishment really at all. I don't think they would have sent him to the archives. They needed him.
Mm-hmm. Robert Miller asks, what Star Wars character would we like to be stuck in quarantine with?
I immediately just thought of Obi-Wan. I think that he would be a real stickler for like the 6-foot rule. I think he'd be a polite house guest. He'd be very tidy. Mm-hmm. We'd have good conversation. I think that he would be a wonderful person to be stuck with.
Sure. I mean, the Mandalorian would never take his mask off, so we wouldn't have to worry about if he were sick coughing on us.
That's true. I mean, I'll tell you who I don't want to be quarantined with is Grievous.
Oh, yeah, he's got a real bad cough.
He's coughing constantly. And we're like, is that a bad cough or just a normal cough? And he wouldn't tell you the truth.
No, he would just go on and on about his collection. In all seriousness, though, who would you want to, if you had to be stuck with someone, who would you want to spend your time with?
I was being serious about Obi-Wan.
Oh, okay, Obi-Wan. Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking maybe Yoda, just because he could
teach you
teach me something and tell me lots of stories from his past, but he might be like really reserved about it, and he might just like not want to talk about any of that stuff.
He'd also probably just get into a bunch of things, being like a mischievous old scamp, like throwing your pots and pans around.
That's true.
I thought of another.
But he knows how to cook.
Does he?
Root leaf stew?
Luke didn't seem all that enthused. I was going to throw out another Mandalorian character, Kuiil. We would get so much done around the house.
That's true.
Like any fixer-upper project, he's on it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Baby Yoda, but I would just... no one would get my attention.
Also, he's adorable from afar, but we've talked about, like, toddler Force sensitives before. I think he would cause a lot of trouble. Adorable trouble, yes, but...
I would just spend every day doing, like, dress-up photo shoots with him. Like when people do that with their babies and pets.
All right. What are 5 outfits you'd put him in?
A lion.
1.
I'd put like a little fuzzy mane around his neck.
Okay.
A Mandalorian.
2.
He needs his own suit. An astronaut.
3.
Which is similar to a Mandalorian, I guess, kind of. Oh, I'd put him in Lando's disguise.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say Lando in the cape.
Oh, that would be cute too.
Give him a little cape.
Give him a little tiny cape and or the little yellow shirt that you have.
That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained content like audio commentaries for the films, and we're doing commentaries for all these new Clone Wars episodes for the final season as they come out, and those are available right now if you're interested.
X-Wing pilot. I forgot. That would be adorable. The little orange jumpsuit.
Yep.
On to YouTube questions. Stuart Lugsden asks, why Palpatine allowed the attacks on Kamino if it would ruin Order 66?
I don't see how it would ruin Order 66. I mean, it might cut off, additional supply of clones, but the Clone Wars only lasted 3 years. Like, I don't think that any clones that were being born during the Clone Wars were going to get to the war at any point soon anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw some being trained, like Domino Squad, and they were on their way out, but...
Well, it was also kind of a reason to be like, see, we need a military.
Yeah, I think there are a ton of reasons to allow an attack on Kamino, and that's one. Number 2 is, like, if the attack is successful, it would wipe out some witnesses, because some of the Kaminoans were in on it.
Yeah.
As we see in Season 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't see it as like a threat to end Order 66. I think there were plenty of clones out there.
Aaron Talks Culture wants to know what the challenges and goals of the Sith were during their centuries in hiding.
That's a good question.
Just being the baddest baddie.
Yeah, but they had to do it in secret. So, like, I think that according to the Darth Bane trilogy, it's like their eventual goal was to do exactly what Palpatine did and infiltrate the government, gain control of it eventually. Like, that was the result of a 1,000-year-long plan. So I imagine that's pretty much the same. I don't think they were ever trying to go out into open conflict against the Jedi. I bet it happened here or there. Or at least I hope, because I think that that's some awesome storytelling to be like, we're trying to achieve this thing, and here come the Jedi, and now we have to kill them. Mm-hmm. We have to reveal ourselves as Sith so they can't go tell anyone else that they caught us doing this thing. I think that's a really tense story to be told.
I feel like they'd be practicing their evilest laugh a lot. Basically doing the opposite of what we're told to do in quarantine. Like, we're told to stay positive and have a gratitude journal, and they would probably have like a things that I'm always angry about journal, and just how long can I be mad for?
So they'd become YouTubers.
Yeah. Harrison Wiggins asks if we'll ever get a story about Finn's relationship to the Force. I hope so. I don't know when we'll get post Rise of Skywalker content or during Rise of Skywalker content, but I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah. They're not going to introduce that and never touch on it again, I have to imagine, especially because the movie didn't really do much with it. Like, they didn't even spell it out. You could tell that, okay, Finn sensed that Rey had died. So that was kind of the big moment where you're like, oh, he's Force sensitive. But, like, they just didn't do a whole lot with it in the movie itself. And that seems like something we should get to see, is maybe he is Rey's first Jedi Padawan.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool, because their relationship is just really close friends, because a lot of people were worried that, oh, is he gonna tell her he loves her? Like, that would be weird. But I think her training him would be a good place to start.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic story waiting to be told.
Brett Furphy wants to know if we could see any Fallen Order cameos in the final episodes of the Clone Wars.
As much as I would love to see Jaro Tapal and Cal Kestis, I don't think so. I don't know that it would add much to the story. We already got to see Order 66 from Cal's perspective. We don't really need to see it again. Also, so far all of these connections back to Star Wars Rebels are like, they're just keeping it within the animation family. I mean, Dave Filoni did the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. So yeah, he's going to put Kanan in a little cameo, and we're going to see some those cats on an axis, little Rebels things.
Yeah, like in the hierarchy of importance, I know you love Fallen Order, but cameos from a video game, I don't think are very far up there.
Well, I just think it's Dave Filoni kind of shouting out his own stuff.
Yeah.
If he had done Fallen Order, then it would make more sense to me. But I think he's just like, Rebels and Clone Wars are already so closely connected, we can throw a little reference or two in. But I don't think the Order 66 scene should be like a montage of more characters, more Jedi being shot. Like, I think it should be completely focused on Ahsoka, because like Filoni said the other week, in his mind, the Clone Wars is about Ahsoka and Rex. So I think the finale, Order 66, should be centered around them.
Caden Downs asks why Padme's family didn't adopt Luke or Leia.
Because I think they were trying to keep them a secret.
Yeah, as far away from anyone who could figure out who they were, I think.
Yep. I mean, it is kind of, I say that, but it's like they gave Luke to his aunt and uncle, the only other family that Anakin knows of.
But they're way out in Tatooine.
I know, but it's like, change his last name. Call him Luke Lars or something.
Luke Lars.
It's better than Luke Skywalker, living where his father used to live. But yeah, I think it was mostly up to, no one knew that Padme was pregnant. There's a whole subplot in the first Darth Vader comic by Kieran Gillen where Dr. Aphra is investigating who knew and who didn't, and it was a very select number of people, and Padme's family did not know.
Yeah. I mean, we know Luke was kept under wraps pretty well. Like, he was kept to work by his uncle.
Yeah, I mean...
Because by the time he's, like, old enough, he's like, can I please leave?
Yeah. It worked, of course, but it shouldn't have. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below, or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.